Welcome to a special podcast series from SalesProcess360. I'm your guest host, Lindsay Young, president of Aspens Media, and I'm looking forward to spending time again with Brian Gardner, founder of SalesProcess360 and author of the book ROI from CRM. Today, we're going to dig more into our special topic, the CEO for CRM. How's it going today, Brian?
Well, great, Lindsay. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So today we're going to dive more into the CRM journey. So first, can you give me an overview of what that means exactly?
CRM journey. Yeah. I guess just as the title says, again, it's a journey. It's a phrase that I've been using is I believe it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so think about that for a second. It's it's not a one and done. You don't just say I'm gonna buy a CRM system or implement a CRM system. There's a lot of pre-work and post-work, and they both have their challenges, but it's a journey. And the CEO for CRM has to map that journey. It's like the analogy of taking a road trip across the United States. You've got to plot where you're going to go, points of interest. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? Well, a journey is the same thing. There's all these things that have to be done in this journey. And, the CEO for CRM has to basically drive the direction of that with their supporting cast, their team members that support them through this journey.
In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the foundation of that CRM journey. So the team that you have to put together, the audit, and the statement of work. So let's start with the team. A CEO for CRM clearly cannot do this on their own. So who should make up the team, Brian?
No, it's I break the team into two groups. I guess I call them, people call them different things. I call them, the first group is the stakeholders. These stakeholders are typically, I think of them as the extension to the CEO for CRM in the management role. Typically, they're managers, sales managers, or leaders based on region or territory or business unit or division within your company. They're the leaders. Again, the extension to the CEO for CRM, and they ultimately have to carry the CRM flag as well and be kind of a champion of that. And then they're what I call the super users. The super users are so key. The super users, think of them as the representatives of the team by role, and so I believe you should build a group or a team of super users that represent the different roles within a company: inside sales, outside sales, customer service, product specialist, marketing, all those touch points within a company. And they're the representatives to the team members on building the CRM for the needs of the company. I also believe, that the super users need to be made up of different backgrounds, so to speak, or different tenures within a company. I typically, if I had a perfect world, I'd have at least two members for each role. Inside sales, let's say, where I'd have a seasoned inside salesperson that's been with the company for a long time, and then I'd have someone maybe a new inside salesperson. And why? Well, both those people look at things differently. They've got a different lens on things, and I think that's healthy. That's healthy when building out the CRM and going through the CRM journey. So, tenure, experience, maybe not experience with your company because they look at things differently. And another thing that I suggest people to add or have on the users on the super users are what I call a little naysayers. A little bit. Have some naysayers on there. Why? Okay, what's a naysayer? And again, I'm not trying to be negative or anything. It's someone that you know who they are. Well, this CRM, I've tried it before with another company. It's not going to work, or we're not going to get the adoption that we want. And why are we doing this again, or whatever? They're that. Okay. Well, if you can get a naysayer on the super user team, and you get a naysayer that's part of the process of building out the CRM system, and then they're on board with this at the end of this journey, oh my gosh, that's gold. So anyway, so summarize: stakeholders, typically the extension of the CEO for CRM, typically management and from the different parts of your company, territories, branches, divisions, and then super users for the different roles made up of senior and then maybe newer users to your company that have different roles.
And talk about, you've mentioned a project manager role in the past on the team, but this project manager is not the CEO for CRM, correct?
No. It's not the CEO for CRM. There needs to be someone in the organization, I believe, that is the project manager. That's kind of coordinating all of the events that need to take place, meetings, getting data, getting reports. There's just so much administrative and coordination that needs to happen with this. And the CEO, is not that person for CRM, is not that person. There needs to be a project manager. That's kind of the glue, the glue that pulls and keeps the team together through this journey. It's so important.
And how big should this team be, Brian? Is it possible to be too big?
Yes, it is. In fact, I experienced it. I felt it's a group that was too big. And they were a big company, but they wanted a lot of people, which was good, raised their hand and said they wanted to be part of this journey. And typically, again, it depends on the size of the company, but typically 10 to 12 people on this CRM journey from stakeholders to super users is I think, a good number, plus or minus. I was involved with a company that had over 30 part of the team. And just going through the audit process with gathering information and their answers, and it took forever. You go around the room and you keep going around the room. It's a big room. So I think between 10 and 12 or so. It's quantity, but it's quality. You also want, let's not forget the quality. Those, you want those people on the team to truly be vocal and state what they believe, and not be respectful, obviously, but you don't want someone that's just going to agree with the next person. Oh yeah, just what Lindsay said. No, I mean, you got your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts on this subject or this topic.
All right, so you have a team in place. Let's move to the audit. What is the CRM audit, and tell me what it takes to do that.
Yeah, so the audit. I mean, I go back, I guess, probably 8 years ago, and in thinking about how to approach this or how to help companies with their CRM journey, and an aha moment, I guess, saying, hey, we have to first analyze where they are now and where their pain points and all, and how we're going to do this. And so again, not revolutionary, but said, let's do this audit or assessment. Some people call it an assessment. Audit maybe sounds a little negative sometimes, or thinks about taxes, but so it's an assessment of your current state of your business right now, right? So, high level, typically what I do is I send out a questionnaire, a sales process questionnaire that addresses a lot of questions that I need answered in preparation for me coming on site or our team coming on site to do the audit. And that helps me understand, again, the current state of their company. So they send back their questionnaire with their answers. In fact, I just got one this morning, or last night. I was reviewing early this morning over a cup of coffee, and it's great because, again, I'm going on site now. I've got some intel. I'm not going in blind, and I also set my questions or things I want to dive deeper into. So there's the questionnaire. Then we assemble the stakeholders, we assemble the super users, and we lock ourselves up in a room for a day or a day and a half, typically. A thing that I say is leave your egos and everything at the door. Come in here, be open and honest. And the more open and honest you are, the better the results will be for this audit, and the better we'll have a roadmap for success going forward. So we assemble the team in the room, and basically, high level, there's things I do with questions and all, but the key part of the audit is looking for gaps and inefficiencies. And so what we do is we start with role-based. So example, we'll take a role, let's say outside sales. Okay. If you're in outside sales, basically you're grading yourself or evaluating yourself in your role. If you're an inside salesperson or a product specialist or marketing or management, you're grading that role through your eyes of their inefficiencies and gaps. Again, and this isn't personal attack, it's the overall role, right? You've got to make sure the team understands that. You're not calling out John or Mary specifically, it's the role. So we take the outside sales and we analyze, we document the gaps that they think from, we're not following up on customers like we should. We're not doing quote follow up. We're not focusing on the right accounts. what are those gaps that you think? And so we basically, everyone contributes to that, and we document all these gaps. Then we go to the next role: inside sales, product specialist, customer service, marketing. And everyone contributes to what they feel their gaps and inefficiencies are from that and their interaction with that role. Okay. So now we have this long list of gaps. It can get pretty long. I typically ask the question when we're doing this. I say, what do you think at the end of this? What do you think? How many gaps do you think we're going to get? And I get 25, 30, 40, 10, 15, whatever. I will tell you the average is somewhere between 80 and 100 gaps that we identify. And these are not overlapping or duplicate gaps. These are truly separate gaps. Okay.
That's a long list.
It is. And so, okay, where do you start? It's overwhelming. It could be overwhelming. So again, this isn't rocket science or anything. So then what we do is we take those gaps and we first grade the gap or categorize, classify the gap, I guess. And I say it either a C, an E, or an O. And I don't mean CEO. It just happens to be those three letters. C, E, or O. What do those stand for? Is this a CRM related gap that can be fixed by CRM? Is this an ERP gap? Meaning, is it a back-end ERP type function or process? Or is it an O, an operational gap? And so what's a byproduct for this is companies will get not only CRM related gaps, they'll get E's and O's, ERP and operational gaps that they can take and do whatever they want with in the future, right? So then what we do though is we're focused on the CRM gap. So we take each CRM gap and we ask two questions. And again, this is not rocket science. We ask two questions. We say, what is the difficulty to fix that gap? Internal resources, dollars, time, bandwidth of company, whatever. L, M, or H, low, medium, or high. They grade that. Okay, this gap, we think internal resources or, us being able to fix this gap is, let's say, an M, medium. Okay, fine. Then we'll ask the next question. If we fix this gap, what does that do to the growth and bottom line, increasing sales, or so to speak, the revenue generation within your company? If I fix that gap, will it be an L, M, or H? Low revenue impact, medium revenue impact, or high revenue impact growth? L, M, or H? You see where I'm going with this, right? So we grade these. What we've done is we've taken these 80, we've now maybe narrowed it down to maybe 40 that are CRM gaps or whatever. And now what we're going to do is we're going to boil this down at the end of this matrix of L, M, or H's. We're going to boil it down to what's the low-hanging fruit. Where's the low-hanging fruit for which we should focus on with CRM? Make sense? I mean, this isn't, it removes the feels like. It removes it. I think we ought to do this with CRM. I think we ought to do this with CRM. It becomes very structured. We then take those, we look for, what are we looking for? We're looking for L, H's. Low difficulty to fix, but high impact to growth. Right? So we come up with a systematic way to do that. They participated in this. They're the ones who came up with these numbers. Typically, I have to ask for a straw boss. I'll have to ask, okay, if we're not in agreement as a group, who in the company is going to make that agreement? And then I typically chime in with final say. I say, nah, guys, and gals, this is going to be more difficult than you think it's going to be. And maybe we move it from an L to an M or an M to an H or whatever. So anyway, at the end of the day, we come up with this nice list. That then drives ultimately the roadmap in phases. So again, then the roadmap that after this audit, they then get a nice roadmap with here are the areas you're going to focus on by role and by phases. Again, I'm a believer in what I call the one-hand rule. No more than 5 things per phase. And we boil it down to these are the 3 to 5 things we're going to do in phase 1 with CRM by role. Inside sales is going to do this, this, and this, and this. And outside sales is this. And here's the value as a team. And by the way, team, this is what you said you needed to do or fix. And this is how CRM fixed. Again, awesome. No rocket science here, but it's structured.
And Brian, is it the same process whether you are starting with CRM for the first time versus on 2.0 or 3.0 with CRM?
Yeah. Good question. Yes. From the standpoint of the audit, yes. Because now, that audit is the output of that audit is going to be different use case for it. That output of an audit, if it's a first timer, that audit will be used to also drive the evaluation process of the statement of work, scope of work that you want the CRM vendor to adhere to during the demo process. So you're driving what you want to see on how their CRM will address these areas that we want to do with CRM versus a CRM vendor coming and just trying to wow you with all their technology and whiz bang stuff, right? That you won't probably even use for a while. Where if it's a redo, the audit is still going to be used, and it's going to be used to readjust what you're focused on and basically going in and changing and modifying the CRM system for the needs that came out of the audit.
So what's the CEO for CRM's role? Are they leading this whole process in partnership with potentially a consultant like you?
Yes. Okay. And again, they can do this internally, by the way, as well. I've talked to companies and said, here's what you need to do. And you could, go do it. But these are the steps that need to happen. And what is the role of that CEO for CRM? First off is to assemble the team, like we talked about, get the right team in place. But before we start the audit, it's so important for that CEO for CRM to set the stage for what this is. They need to set the tone. Myself as a consultant can come in and help with that, but ultimately they need to set the tone, from the company and why we're doing this. This is about change management, reminding them that they need to leave their egos and everything else at the door. This is not personal. We need them to be open. We need them to communicate and be engaged. And so that's one of the key roles during this audit of the CEO for CRM is to set the stage and to make sure that the audit goes as planned and stays the course. Now, challenges that I've seen with this is that CEO has come in the beginning and set the tone, set the stage, and then they got disengaged during the audit. And I see such a difference with companies that I've worked with this, where the CEO for CRM is truly engaged. Because again, remember, this CEO for CRM is typically an executive that's got a full-time job as well, right? And so, they set the stage, they start the audit, and they're in and out of the room. They're not engaged in the room. They're on their phone, they're doing emails, they're texting, they're just not engaged. And I just see the difference in the end result in the companies that CEO stays engaged versus maybe is not as engaged as they should be during that audit process. So that's a challenge that I see, and that's the role that the CEO needs to stay engaged in this process. And I understand this is not a normal. They're not normally sitting in a room for a day or a day and a half. I get it, and they got a full-time job, but they've got to block out some time and truly stay engaged.
Are there any other challenges that come up in this process that the CEO for CRM has to mitigate or manage?
Yeah. Well, it's making sure that this doesn't become a personal gripe session, right? Also, the make sure, and again, we try to do at SalesProcess360, we try to do a good job of this, is keeping them in the lane, so to speak. And that is, this is a gap analysis. This isn't a problem solving session.
That's a good distinction.
Okay. This is let's get it identified. Let's grade it, L, M, or H's, right? And let's move on. We're not going to solve the problem today. And that's not the purpose of this. So the challenge is keeping the team, and the CEO for CRM has to play in that, keeping the team reminded of that at all times. Because they'll want to go down a rabbit hole. They'll want to go down a rabbit hole and try to solve this, or, well, that's not true. I used to do that. Well, no, it's not about you. It's about the role, And then, and then when we get to the L, M, or H's, agreeing on if it's an L, M, or H, and those are, but that's typically not as bad as maybe it sounds, but there's, CEOs got to just remind the team of what this is about.
So after the audit is complete, you have that roadmap, and you alluded to this already a little bit before, but how do you take that information and then put it into that statement of work?
Yeah. So we've gone through and we've taken the 80 to 100 gaps. We've pulled out the CRM related gaps. We've analyzed them on low, medium, or high. We boiled them down to the L and H's we're looking for, or whatever, and we try to get down to a one-hand rule per phase. So we're ultimately trying to get down to 5 things we want to focus on first for phase 1, right? Out of that whole gap. Okay. So then we basically put the roadmap together. And then again, that will dictate whether we're going to do it for the evaluation and helps drives the evaluation process. If you're a first timer or for redo, we then have to go in and look at what are you currently doing and what things do we need to change to, if we were starting from scratch, so to speak, with that came out of the roadmap, you know? And again, I focus on the one hand rule. I focus on this being a marathon, not a sprint, meaning let's look at this as phases. You know, I think a CRM journey needs to be phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Don't go to the next phase until you've completed and feel comfortable with the current phase that you're in, that you're doing what you said you wanted to do as a team. So,
does the CEO for CRM have to do a lot of negotiating at this stage to get people to focus in on what objectively has come out of the audit and fight to keep other things out? Or is it typically a pretty...
Yeah. Well, so sometimes a challenge. Okay, a challenge is people lobbying for their gap to be part of phase 1. Yes. Okay. Yes, and that's healthy. That's okay in my mind. That's, hey, they're passionate about it. They want to focus on this. They want to focus on, you know, project pursuit in phase 1 versus quote follow up, or, you know, lead management versus whatever. Let the process work. And again, is it maybe they're both LHs? Then you got to really dive deeper and say what's the real value, or let's get others involved in this and make a decision. Just don't try to do too much. A lot of times the challenge is companies want to do maybe too much. They want to throw too much at those phases. And again, I'm just such a believer in this phased approach, and what I call MVP. You know, a minimum valuable product solution. You got to have at least a minimum valuable product, but you also don't want to have too much that you overwhelm the team. Because again, remember, this is change management. You know, and so you're changing behavior, you're changing habits, you're changing a lot of things, and so don't try to change too much. And what also that audit does, just thinking about it, that audit also helps, I believe, the stakeholders and the super users sell this to the team members that we've gone through this process. And at the end of the day, these are the things that are going to help us grow our business. That's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. And that's what that part of that audit process is to identify what's the areas that we can shore up that can help us grow our business. That's that second L, M, or H, right? Is this going to produce revenue growth for us? Is this going to help us grow? You know, whether it's stealing business from competitors, whether it's going into new markets, what is it doing? Is it getting what is it helping us get more wallet share at accounts? What's it doing to help us grow our business?
What challenges might a CEO for CRM encounter in the statement of work stage?
Again, first off, the challenge is they've got to believe it. Okay, they have to believe whatever they've come out with through this process and what they've honed in on for phase 1 that they're going to focus on to start this either new journey or a redo journey, that they believe it. They believe it, and they have to make sure that their team believes it. You know, that these are the right decisions and they're focusing on the right things. Because at the end of the day, again, it all comes down to they've got to sell this. And not only the CEO for CRM, the stakeholders and the super users have to sell this. This becomes their project. That's another byproduct for this audit, is you bring them into the process in the beginning. You know, it now becomes their process. I believe I believe is a conductor, the facilitator of this, keeping them between the lanes, right? But these are their answers. This is their involvement. You know, this is what they say they need to do. I'm just helping facilitate that at the end of the day.
And the statement of work, and we'll talk about this more next time, but the statement of work is really setting the stage for the evaluation of potential solutions, correct?
Yeah, it is. It totally is. That's, you know, if you're a first timer, this sets the stage such that when you now are looking at evaluating CRM vendors, okay, you're on the offensive versus the defensive, so to speak. You're driving the process. You're letting them know what you want the CRM to do. Because a lot of times, a lot of companies, when they don't approach this in a systematic way with a process, it's like, hey, we need a CRM. Okay, why? Well, we need a CRM because we need contact management. We need opportunity management. Okay, those are obvious. But what other things do you need, and what are you going to do with that? You know, so that audit helps put a framework around that, or a ribbon around audit, and allows us now to be very focused with the CRM vendors, which is key. Because if you're not, They're going to come in and they're going to try to just wow you with all of their technology. Like I said earlier, all of their whiz bang stuff, from their AI to this to that to, okay, wow, I'm overwhelmed. They look really good. Well, okay. Will they meet our needs? And let's use our roadmap to determine that.
Absolutely. It keeps you focused. Is there a difference, again, if you're doing a new CRM versus a redo or a 2.0
Yeah.
CRM when you're at this stage?
Yeah. So that roadmap then becomes us used to redo or re-execute the CRM project. So what you might have to do, because again, there's going to be some people that were involved in the first phase that maybe you're doing a redo on, that their feelings might get hurt a little bit, so to speak, or they're like, well, okay. This is allowing you then to sell to them why we need to redo a redo. Because they're probably going to have to be involved in some form or fashion on the redo, right? So you can't throw them under the bus, so to speak, so you're going to use this audit or this roadmap that came from the audit, this roadmap to say, here's how we're going to do this differently now, And the first time maybe we weren't successful as we wanted to because we didn't follow a process. We now have a process. We now have the team involved. We've removed the feels like of what we need to do with CRM, and we come up with a very systematic approach to this, and it will help sell the team on this. Not only the team that was involved with it, but also the naysayers that the company's saying, I told y'all CRM wasn't going to work, or here we go again, here we go again. Yeah. Well, yes, but it's a new day. And that is a huge role for the CO for CRM. They've got to sell this for these redos. For first timers, they haven't experienced maybe the non-success. I'll be positive versus failure, the non-success of a CRM, right? They haven't got. So, but these redos, they're like, one of the main roles at this stage of a CO for CRM is to sell the team on why we're doing this again and why this is going to be successful. I can't state that enough. That is so important for that CO for CRM at this stage for redos.
Awesome. I think that wraps up our question list for today, Brian.
Come on, I want some more. Let's keep going.
Well, next time we can talk about evaluation and then moving into the actual implementation phase.
Well, what's exciting, Lindsay, is again, we're breaking this down. We're breaking the journey down into these areas that need to be focused on, right? And so again, excited to be part of this with you, and hopefully sharing some insights and some nuggets of information that can help users no matter where they are in their journey.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Have a good day.